Call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Kolpak? Here. Pepcorn?
Here.
Strand?
Here.
Turnberg? Here. Mahoney?
Here. Tonight we have video about the Fargo Name a Garbage Truck Contest, so we'll start off with that.
My name is Kyle Blanchard. I'm equipment operator 2 here at City of Fargo Solid Waste. Recently I've been dumping the child care center at Sanford, and every day there's kids coming in and coming out, and everybody's got to stop and see the garbage truck work. I've never met a kid that doesn't like a garbage truck, and it's so much fun. They're either asking us to honk the air horns or wanting to see the truck work and get dumped, and it's a lot of fun to see. Well, I think it's really cool for them. It gives them a sense of community involvement. You know, they're just probably starting to learn about civics and giving back to the community and stuff like that. I think it's nice to see them have the opportunity to give an active role to be a part of what goes on in their community. Especially for the winners, like how cool is that for them to see their name truck come by on their street or by them. It's got to be a pretty cool experience.
So the Solid Waste Department contacted our communications team for help doing this Name a Garbage Truck contest. And from there, it was posted online asking residents to submit their ideas for names of garbage trucks. All those results were forwarded to us at Solid Waste Department. We narrowed it down to 10 names, and then it was put out for public vote. And that's how we got to the 3 names that were selected by the public that you'll see on trucks now. There was actually over 200 submissions for naming a garbage truck, so I feel like it was popular with the residents wanting to participate. Trashosaurus Rex is fun because it just kind of fits. Changing it from Tyrannosaurus Rex, not much of a change, but really applies to what we're doing here at the Solid Waste Department. Vin Diesel, we all know the movie, so that was an easy kind of transformation to incorporate garbage or solid waste into that name. And then I would say the top pick is the Truck Norris, because who doesn't love Chuck Norris? Also his recent passing, we thought it would be a nice way to remember him and incorporate him into our daily operations.
So I thought it was really cool. Like we're kind of on our own island out here, like you said. So it's really neat that we get some fanfare on the social media and seeing these trucks rolling around on different videos or news platforms. It's pretty neat for us to get recognized because it's outside of cleanup week. Nobody really knows that we exist. Their garbage comes and goes, and they're happy about that. Especially any of the kids that maybe tried to name the truck, or even especially for the winners to see the stickers on these trucks. And oh, there goes Truck Norris right down the road. I seen him in North Fargo yesterday. Now he's in South Fargo, or now he's at this career fair. I think it'll be a cool thing.
Nicely done. Thank you. Do you have a motion to approve the order of agenda?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the May 11, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 23?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Kolpak? Aye. Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg? Aye. Mahoney?
Aye. We move to public hearings. Item 2425 are to be continued till 6:22. Could I have a motion for 24 and 25 to be continued?
I'll move to continue 24 and 25.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Turnberg? Aye. Kolpak? Aye. Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Public hearing number 26, application by the Fargo HRA Low Income Housing for a payment in lieu of tax exemption
pilot for a project located at 1711 25th Avenue South, which the applicant is being used for 65-unit low-income multifamily residential apartment building. Jim Gilmore to explain.
This is an application from the Fargo Housing Authority along with Blue Line Development. Blue Line Development is a partner in this because they're able to obtain and sell low-income housing tax credits. That is an excellent in financing in one way, and the other is a problem because it makes a portion of the project subject to property taxes. And so that's the reason for the property tax exemption. If you're going to provide low-income housing, you can't afford to pay the full property taxes, especially on a project like this that's serving very low-income people. You can see the general location of the project. The interchange to the northwest is 25th Street and I-94. And so if we can go to the PowerPoint next, you can kind of see the plan. And then I'll just turn this over to Chris from the Housing Authority, kind of explain what was there before. It was tax exempt before. There's a bunch of townhomes have been demolished, and then this is a new project. Chris?
Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to be here today. As Jim was saying before, previously on this location, we had a total of 14 duplexes, 28 units, which are 2 and 3 bedroom. We received permission from HUD to demolish these 14 duplexes and come back with 65 unit multifamily. It would be 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. We will be 100% vouchered on these. What I mean vouchered, each unit will have a project-based voucher, which will allow people to a maximum income of 50% of the area median income and less. So if you have 0% income, if you have 0 income, you pay 0 for your rent. So that's truly a low, deep subsidy income for this unit. I guess I'm open for questions that you may have.
Maybe one other thing to add is both the Fargo School Board and Cass County have voted to fully participate in this exemption.
Any questions, Chris?
Mayor.
Mr. Strand?
Chris, initially, thank you to you and to your staff and to your team and to the Fargo Housing Authority Board and to Blue Line and for others in the lane in our community, you know, that lane of providing housing in our community. I guess my question is this: how much is ahead of us to still do for housing? What do you see on the horizon? What's coming our way? What is really the reality that we're facing?
Well, there's such a need for low-income housing. We have, you know, we just opened Lashkwitz Riverfront over here, and we're filling that up right now, and we have over 600 people on the waiting list for a 100-unit building. That's not counting the waiting list for our regular HCV vouchers or any of our other projects. I know Dan Madler's here from Beyond Shelter, and he could attest that there's never a problem filling any type of low-income housing that we may build. It's only going to increase more demand as we continue to grow as a community. So I think, you know, we plan to continue to build more low-income housing. We plan to redevelop our Burrell and Colonial site just to the north here. And we're looking at some other locations throughout town also. So we have some other tools that a lot of other low-income developers don't have. We have a fair cloth to RAD conversion, where we actually have the maximum number of public housing that we once had in the city of Fargo, which was over 600 units. That's dropped down to under 300. So we have that change at 300 units that we still have the availability to get funding for if we provide the housing. So there's a method through HUD to actually put something new into public housing, you know, for a day or instantaneously, then we do a conversion, take it back out. But when we do that, it takes those vouchers along with it, so we can continue to add more subsidy back to our community, and that's truly what we need to do.
Any other questions? Is there anyone present wish to speak to this low-income housing project? Is there anyone present wish to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Kolpeck? Aye. Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 27.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Chris.
Commissioners.
Application by Najaxa Software for a property tax exemption for a project located at 201 Fifth Street North, which the applicant will use for technological services in a software development company. Jim Gilmore to explain as well.
This is a software company that's proposing to move into the 14th floor of the Radisson building in downtown Fargo. They're currently located downtown, and they'd be moving to this location so they could both add jobs as well as employ people that are no longer in the Fargo metro area, or maybe have never been in the Fargo metro area, and bring them here. Very, very good jobs. What I'm going to have Ryan Oshheim from the EDC, he's been working with this company, and he can come up and introduce the owners, and they can talk about their vision and what they do and how they hope to expand here in downtown Fargo.
Thanks, Jim. Mayor, members of the commission. This is one of those examples of the great work that we get to do, and there's all these great companies that are operating in our marketplace that are in primary sector nature, adding value to goods and services, and using IP to develop software technology companies. And so this was one of the stories of Najaxa Software, a company that was formed in Las Vegas in 2018, moved here after COVID, going through some expansion and growth within their company. As Jim mentioned, they're located above Halberstadt's on Broadway in about 2,800 square feet of space. The company's growing, needs to bring on more team members to capitalize on some of the business opportunities they have in front of them. So they're moving to from kind of, I'd say, semi-remote work to everybody back in the office, which includes several people coming and working full-time in the Fargo market that aren't currently here. And then with this expansion, they'd be adding 2 people every year for the next 5 years. So these are high-paying jobs, 81,000 plus average salary. The company is looking at other locations to expand in other marketplaces. And so with me today is Jamie Evenson, one of the founders of Najaxa, and I'll let her tell you more about the project and their expansion.
Yeah, thank you guys. So like Ryan mentioned, Jamie Evenson, founder CEO of Najaxa Software. We're a staffing technology company, so we build staffing solutions, SaaS solutions that we offer to staffing agencies that are roughly 25 million to $1 billion plus. We operate outside of the state of North Dakota, and we operate in Canada as well. So all of our revenue basically comes from out of state. We don't have any customers in the state of North Dakota at this time, and not sure if we will, but mostly we're looking outside of the state. Like you mentioned, we are looking at bringing everybody in-house. We just find that we collaborate better and we make better products when everybody's together. So people that live in Minneapolis market, we're having a move here so that we can continue to grow our team. The idea is that we'll bring on 2+ a year. Right now, the way that it's working out is that that goal is maybe a little light, considering with where we're at right now, but at a minimum, we'd like to see 2 people plus per year. Any other questions?
Any questions?
I should note the Economic Development Incentive Committee recommended approval based on our scoring criteria. It's 178. We needed at least 120 to recommend approval, so this is a very good score.
Mayor.
Mr. Strand.
Thank you. It's great to have people moving to our city and community. I'm just curious, Jim, what type of a look back, claw back topics or inclusions do we have in not just this particular project, but all of them going forward? Will we measure the 2 per year, and will we calculate it? How does that get?
Yeah, we're updating that. Eric Johnson's been working on a new business incentive agreement, which they would be required to sign. There'd be annual reporting until they met their job goals through that first 5 years. If they didn't meet it, it would come back to you to decide, do you want to give more time, or do you want to end the incentive, possible clawback? I think it'll be a much better agreement than we've had in the past.
I thought we were on path to already implement those changes, those requirements that you don't just look back, but we actually have that in place up front, what the consequences are if there isn't a meeting of the established goals.
We have those in place. What we're trying to build in is an actual annual reporting and sort of an automatic end that we don't have in place right now.
And bear with me, last question. Is there a requirement to report? Because in the past, we've had entities that don't even give us their reports.
This would be a firmer requirement that they report. I think in the past, some of these fell through the cracks and we didn't get signed agreements, And the EDC has been doing a good job now in following up on all the current agreements. Admittedly, we haven't been following up on them as rigorously as we could. I thought the assessors were doing it and they thought I was doing it.
Is there anyone present wish to speak to this property tax exemption? Any present wants to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Kolpak?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciating this is truly international work that you're doing with both Canada and the United States. Can you share a little bit about your experience working with both the city and the EDC throughout this process?
Actually, I wasn't aware of the EDAC before this. We moved into our place 2.5 years ago about, and I can't remember if it was you, Ryan, or if somebody else.
Even Joey.
Joey had reached out, and at first I honestly thought it was like a sales pitch for something, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, but then he assured us that it was, going to be in our best interest to see what they had to offer. So the process has been quite great. It's been wonderful because a lot of times when you start a company, you don't really know who to go to or the questions that you don't know to ask, and the EDIC process has been exceptional, very easy to meet with, and of course they're downtown too, so it makes it really easy for us to get together if we need to. So definitely it's been a good experience, and I would recommend it to anybody who's starting a business in Fargo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Kolpak? Aye. Strand?
No.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 28, Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Programs, 2026 HUD Action and Plan and Budget, and amendments to the 2025 Action Plan and Citizen Participation Plan. Nicole Crutchfield to explain.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I have just a short presentation just to provide a brief overview. So every year, we are in front of you with an annual allocation for HUD. For the city has chosen to participate in community development block grant funds and home grant funds. And we are on year 2 of a 5-year consolidated plan. So every 5 years, we have a big overarching goal-setting process, and then we follow those goals over the course of the next 5 years. And so today in front of you, we have year 2 of 5, and much like last year's presentation and updates, I'll have that for you today here. So just as a reminder, the 2 grant programs are the Community Development Block Grant Funds, which are primarily used for public facility improvements, property acquisition, community programs, really construction related. And then the other program, Home Investment Partnership Program, that is primarily specific to providing more housing. So the city has chosen to initiate a new program, tenant-based rental assistant program, in partnership with SENCA, our local action agency. And then for the community development block grant funds, for a majority of those funds, we have chosen to pivot for internal use for alley paving in our core neighborhoods. And so I have a little bit more about those as well as we move forward. So in the 5-year plan, through public outreach, through our comprehensive plans and our core neighborhoods plans, our housing study, et cetera, we have formed these 5 goals related to affordable housing, ending and preventing homelessness, the public infrastructure, and then fair housing, which is a requirement. And the actual dollar amounts this year, these are set by Congress, and it's a formulaic approach. And so we were notified just about 60 days ago on what these funds are going to be, are allocated for us. And we've chosen to fit those into the programs we already have going. So that includes $202,000 for administration, 120 for public services, 550 for capital neighborhood. That's the alley paving project. And then for the housing related to the tenant-based rental assistance. And we always carry a little bit of coverage or contingency if a program needs to be adjusted. We are part of a public hearing tonight. We have a mailing list that we notify people that have signed up. It's also published in the paper and on the website. We are on a 30-day public process right now. I will be back in front of you June 8th. It'd probably be on consent agenda unless there's any concerns or comments that are received. looking for approval of this action plan. As part of this plan, we also are doing an amendment to the 2025. The first alley paving project that we are starting to queue up with engineering and through the environmental review process is in the Madison neighborhood. So focusing in on the Madison neighborhood related to alley paving projects, and we would be back in front of you as we get closer into those details and working with engineering. And then we have a standard requirement through HUD with the citizen participation plan. And this is pretty standard. This is a lot of rudimentary updates where if we make edits to the citizen participation plan, we have to notice the public. So it's a lot of government speak. I apologize on that, but it's really just trying to simplify the process for when we do amendments and updates, which is things about like notices in the paper, notices online, and the verbiage related to that. We had a document based that had been previously advised by our regional director that was some 25 pages long, and really probably only needs to be about 5 pages long. And so we've just made that shorten, and it's all available online and to the public. But basically, when anything, there's an amendment, we come back in front of you as part of those amendments, and that's the nuts and bolts of it. And then we have a public notice standard. I'm here to answer any questions. I know I ran through that really quickly. Glad to talk about any of the programs more directly as you might have questions.
Any questions for Nicole? Mr. Strand?
Thank you. Nicole, when you say it's 1.3 plus million, is that increasing or decreasing the amount of allocation from the federal feds? How is that looking overall?
It's a little bit, I wish I had those numbers right in front of you, but it's about the same overall
Okay.
every year. It varies maybe by 50 to 100 grand every year, and it really depends on if other jurisdictions have fallen in or fallen out. So it very much is a formula versus anything that's a congressional movement of any point.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak in regards to this plan?
Mayor Mahoney and Commissioners, for the record, my name is Dan Madler, and I serve as the CEO of Beyond Shelter. And thank you for the opportunity to comment on the city's 2026 HUD Action Plan. First, I would like to say I appreciate the work that goes into administering CDBG and home. These are important federal resources, but they also come with significant compliance requirements and risk for city staff. I also appreciate that tonight is a public hearing and the final action is scheduled for June 8th. Next, I would say I want to be direct. I strongly urge the city to revise this action plan before final adoption and recenter a meaningful portion of its CDBG and home funds on affordable housing development within Fargo. Based on the meeting packet, the city expects to receive a little over $835,000 in CDBG and a little over $508,000 in home funds. As currently proposed and outlined, $550,000 of CDBG is allocated for public infrastructure, and $390,000 in home is allocated for tenant-based rental assistance. And only $70,000 is identified as a total set-aside placeholder with no project identified. So respectfully, that is not a meaningful investment in housing production. It is a plan weighted towards short-term assistance and infrastructure, while the city's most limited federal housing dollars are not being used to create long-term affordable housing assets, something that would serve the city long-term. To be clear, I am not saying the proposed rental assistance program lacks value. It can absolutely serve as a purpose and as a bridge for households in crisis. I am also not dismissing the need for neighborhood infrastructure improvements in the Madison Unicorn Park area. These are real needs. But rental assistance, once it is spent, it is gone. It does not create lasting housing. And infrastructure projects, while they are important, they do not expand the city's affordable housing supply. Housing development does. Housing development creates long-term community assets that can serve Fargo residents for decades and represents one of the highest long-term strategic investments that the city can make. In response to Commissioner Strand's question earlier in an earlier public hearing, what's coming our way? I can say if you look at North Dakota state demographics, North Dakota is an aging and young state. And I also can say that I am seeing that here in Fargo. And with that, I would say the local demand is clear. Beyond Shelter has developed 406 affordable senior housing units in Fargo. And as of April of 2026 of this year, only 3 units are vacant. That is a vacancy rate of less than 1%. That is not a soft market. That is a signal of sustained demand and undersupply. Also, as of December of 2025, those 406 units were serving 423 residents with an average resident age of 73. Average household income was approximately $22,500 per year. Those are extremely low-income tenants and seniors, and they need more options, not fewer. One Fargo resident on Beyond Shelter's wait list, Diana, she's age 76, described rent as maximizing my budget down to pennies, and said she is trying to keep a roof over my head, but it's getting more and more difficult. Those are the voices this plan should answer. I understand timeliness pressures and administrative constraints that come with these funds, but those challenges should not prevent the city from making strategic, long-term investments in housing. A predictable housing funding pipeline and partnerships with experienced developers can allow the city to remain compliant while still producing meaningful housing outcomes. And my request is straightforward. Before the June 8th vote, revise the action plan to set clear housing production goals and dedicate a meaningful share of the CDBG and home funds to affordable housing development in Fargo. Not just a placeholder, but through real projects that will deliver measurable housing outcomes. Fargo needs more housing supply, and these federal funds are one of a few tools the city can use to create it. And Beyond Shelter stands ready to be a partner. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration.
Is there anybody else wish to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Nicole, do you want to comment any through those comments?
Yes, I think Dan and I have had lots of conversations about this. I think the fact of the matter is these funds are increasingly impossible to use for the types of projects that Beyond Shelter builds. These funds, this direct allocation for $500,000 in a multi-million-dollar construction project for a city staff of basically 2 people to administrate over 20 years is not a sustainable plan. And so we've thought long and hard as we've pivoted. The consolidated plan is what I'd like to use as a guide. I'm glad to have an informational meeting and deeper dive on the difficulties. The fact of the matter is we have several projects that are not in compliance with regulations to date, and it's really impossible with these regulations to kind of keep our sub-recipients in line with the regulations, and that's what's making it really hard for these large multi-projects. So the easiest people to find compliance with is internal when we can manage our internal audit and our internal financial systems.
So part of what you're saying is internal audits and what the government recommends or has is made it difficult because it takes a lot of time.
And this is a nationwide issue. I don't want to just point to Beyond
Yeah.
Shelter. It's a nationwide issue nationally. All the local jurisdictions in North Dakota and the state have turned away CDBG funds from using in this regards, and then for home funds for using in new construction. It's really impossible with Section 3 and Davis-Bacon laws.
Thank you. Commissioner Strand?
Thank you. Nicole, I'm just curious, a few years back, I think we were talking about creating a housing authority board that oversees all of these entities, the Cascade Community Land Trust, Beyond Shelter, Fargo Housing Authority, Habitat, and so on. Did that ever happen?
Honestly, it has not happened. I have a number of reasons why. I think at the metro-wide level, we're having trouble with our joint jurisdictions in picking up the baton with the regional housing study.
What I'm wondering is if it's possible to just convene those members and others in that housing, just to have them know we heard them before the June 8th vote. And maybe they might, I don't know, but I'm sure you all can learn from each other, and but this whole affordable housing topic is just ripe. Would that be possible to convene them for coffee or something?
I can try.
And I'd be
I don't
happy
think
to
I
join
can,
you if I can,
honestly.
but maybe
John, it's public notice, they can come. They're very aware of what she has.
I know, I just want more thorough, informal conversations.
And I agree completely. We're under tight deadline, otherwise we're at risk of these funds being allocated to Fargo.
Mr. Kolpak?
Yeah, I was going to follow up on I was going to actually ask for an informational session, inviting those partners.
Absolutely.
To share their frustrations, because I know it's not just municipalities that are struggling with some of these same challenges, and have just a real frank conversation with the public, and let's highlight where are the challenges and where are the associated opportunities for improvement. And I know you've had several independent conversations with those same groups over the years, and let's just be really transparent about it. Thank you.
There's no action tonight, it's just information, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Number 29, plat of Lake Agassiz Addition, 417 and 501 Main Avenue. Approval recommended by the Planning Commission, 5526. Donald Crest to explain.
Good evening, Commissioners. Donald Kress with the Department of Planning and Development. I'll be presenting the next two items. These items include ordinances prepared by the City Attorney's Office. Item 29 is the Lake Agassiz Addition, a plat of a portion of the northeast quarter of Section 7, Township 134 or 139 North, Range 48 West, located at 417 and 501 Main Avenue. A little history here for you, Commissioners. If this looks familiar to you, a plat of the same property, which was known as the L.J. Leffine Addition, was conditionally approved by your Commission on May 3rd, 2021. Subsequent to that conditional approval, the City's relationship with the development partner changed, and that plat was never finalized. It has now been withdrawn. This is an entirely new plat that original development partner is not involved in. It's a major subdivision because it dedicates right-of-way along Main Avenue. These photos show the site here. You're probably familiar with this. There's a city parking lot there on the west side, and on the east side is Lake Agassiz Regional Development Corporation building. Lower photo here, we've been walking on it for a long time. This will actually be dedicated as part of this plat, as part of Main Avenue. And just a couple other views of the subject property here on the Lake Agassiz Regional Development Corporation side, and then looking along 4th Street here. The zoning is DMU, downtown mixed use, and no change is proposed. The city did receive one inquiry from a nearby property owner, just wondering what was going to be happening there, and we responded to that for him. The applicant is the City of Fargo, so we're here tonight, myself and Mr. Gilmore, so if you have any questions for us. The plat looks like this. Again, you won't really see any difference, just pretty much divides the property down on the Lake Agassiz and city side there. The Planning Commission's recommendation is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. That concludes staff's presentation. Just to recognize, we do appreciate the cooperation of the Lake Agassiz Regional Development Corporation in preparing this project. Thank you, Commissioners.
Donald, it says existing and proposed, no change, no change, no change. So what is this action doing?
This is basically taking that property, which is still described as township and range property. It's just a meets and bounds description. It's never been formally platted. So it just formally plats these two properties. Not like the Lake Agassiz Regional Development Corporation is going to be there, same place they are, and then the city will have a platted lot to be able to, I believe our goal is to sell that in the near future. Is that correct, Mr. Gilmore? We'll take that as a yes.
So at one time we sold that lot, this allows us to sell it again in the future?
I don't know, I'll let Jim answer that question. I was not part of that negotiation, sir. I'll go back to the plat.
This property is unplatted. As you can see in the southwest corner, Main Avenue kind of cuts across this legal description. So when you sell this, we did not want to sell a portion of Main Avenue. So this gives us a clean legal description. So the property, when you decide to sell it, it'll be lot 1, and it won't be this long description that is difficult to understand.
So Jim, this is basically cleanup work, or cleaning it
Yeah,
up,
we're just
so we
cleaning
could,
up. And we
now
asked Lake
turn,
Agassiz to clean it up, clean theirs up too, so if they decide to sell or refinance, it'll be much easier to do it. Most property in Fargo is been platted. This was owned by the railroad up until 20 years ago, and so it was never platted as a lot in blocks.
okay, thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this action? No one wanting to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Commissioner Strand.
Thank you. I'm just curious, Donald, or whomever could answer this, or legal, what is the status of that property now? It was sold, it went into litigation potentially. Is that done or resolved, or
I defer to Mr. McLean, sir.
That was resolved last August. We own the property now.
it's completely done and resolved?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Kolpak?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 30, Lost Creek First Edition. Approval recommended by Planning Commission on 5526, a zoning change from AG, agricultural, to single-dwelling residential, SR5, and multi-dwelling residential with conditional overlay and public and institutional. First reading of the rezoning ordinance and a plat of the Lost Creek First Edition. Nicole Crutchfield and Donald Crest to explain.
Good evening. Yeah, so just, it's a little unique case, so I thought I would do a little intro on how we got here, hand it over to Donald as he walks through the normal subdivision process and comments, and then I'll come back as part of the recommendations, and then as we conclude the public hearing, then we would have a lot of staff here if you have questions and such. So just to bring us to a bit of how we got here, today we have the review elements related to the planning department staff, and as part of that, we look at the adherence to the growth plan, the future land use plan, and utility master plans and serviceability. There's a lot of coordination with the finance departments, public works, public safety, the school district, that's within your staff report. And then today in front of you, it's kind of confusing. We have 3 motions for your consideration, and that would be including staff's recommendation, the planning commission decision, which is different than the staff's recommendation, and then a continuation if that's your desire. So I'll be here to walk through those. I'm going to turn it over to Donald to proceed through.
We only have the one script between us. So going forward here, Lost Creek First Edition is a major subdivision and zone change. The Lost Creek First Edition is located here. This is the city of Horace here. The top line is 64th Avenue South. And the east line here is Veterans Boulevard, formerly known as 57th Street South. And so we're just across the street from Horace here. This is Lake Fargo up here. This property is a little different history. This was actually annexed into the city some time ago in 2006, but no development was proposed at the time, no services were ever provided. So this area is in the city, unlike, for example, when we went across the interstate to do Selkirk Place, that we annexed it and then annexed, platted, zoned as we worked our way down. This is already in the city, so it's a little different background on this property here. These photos show the site from a few days ago. It's basically an open field. 64th Avenue South is being gravelled this year, but not paved. This is Veterans Boulevard. This is the drainage channel that is on the east side of the property. That is part of the Lake Fargo system. A little better shot of that drainage property. And this drainage channel is included in the plat as Lot 14 of Block 4. And then this is lower one here is facing southerly along Veterans Boulevard. The plat here creates 193 lots, including 181 residential lots. These larger ones are zoned MR3, multi-dwelling residential, with a conditional overlay. These 3 on the west side here are zoned SR5 for townhomes, and the rest of these are zoned SR4 for single-dwelling residential. This lot over here, lot 14, is the drainage channel lot. Lot 13 down here is going to be a public park. That plat actually continues on another page here, bringing those, the panhandle down here. I don't know that they'll call it Panhandle Park, but, and a couple of these other lots here are, that don't have designations, are future park and connectivity lots that staff's still working out a couple details on. The zoning here is agricultural, and the proposed zoning, as I just talked about, was SR4, SR5, MR3, and then the publicly owned lots would be zoned PI, public and institutional, which are the appropriate zoning for lots owned by government entities. And then here's that zoning exhibit. Again, these are a little different colors than we use, but the multi-dwelling, the townhome, and the single dwelling, and then the green are the publicly owned lots. This Lost Creek First Edition is part of a larger master plan for the entire west half of Section 9 of Township 138 North, Range 49 West, which is 320 acres. It's the entire west half. And as you see, it stretches from 64th Avenue South to 76th Avenue South on the south side. It's across the street from Horace here. As you know, as you saw in the photographs there, Veterans Boulevard is not yet developed. It's a minimum maintenance road. My truck does have four-wheel drive, so I got out there okay. And we are working, the city of Horace and the city of Fargo are working on a memorandum of understanding for all of Veterans Boulevard down to 100th Avenue South, that whole corridor. And that is in process for that MOU to become effective. As you commissioners probably know, that has to be approved both by the Horace City Council and the City of Fargo, your commission here. This property is located within the West Fargo School District, and at the Planning Commission hearing, as summarized in your staff report, Mr. Mark Lemire of the West Fargo Public Schools came and addressed the West Fargo Public Schools situation for this. And we've also had cooperation with the Fargo Park District and their investments and their trail planning for this as well. Our commissioners, our 2024 growth plan uses this grid system to prioritize development, prioritize orderly development in the city's undeveloped areas. And this subject property is located, this actually doesn't have the panhandle on it, but subject property is located in Supergrid A, see the A back here, Supergrid A in Section 4. When you look at Grid 4 in detail, Grid 4 down here, in relation to the development in the other grids in that Supergrid A, you see that Grid 1 here is about 50% developed. Here's the Sports Center, Fargo Park Sports Center, our landmark Walmart here. There's residential development. There actually is a little new multifamily development here, commercial development, or multifamily development here, the new hospice. So that's about 50% developed, just based on area developed. Grid 2, other than Lake Fargo, is undeveloped. This actually is outside of the city. This east half of this section is outside the city. 3 is Capstone Academy and North Dakota State College of Science is there now. There is some pending development. Cubby Ranch 3rd Edition has been to the Planning Commission. Recently, Back 40 Edition, which would develop this over here, was submitted for a future Planning Commission, probably in July. But even when those do come online, that'll be about 50% developed. And then the subject property is located over here. So as you see, there is a considerable distance from development here. This is 45th Street South, 64th Avenue South. There is a distance from development there. And so there is that undeveloped gap, which again is partly the way this was annexed. This was annexed before all the stuff from the interstate over was annexed. So that creates a situation which we don't have very often in terms of this orderly development. Usually we annex adjacent to the city and then plat and zone at the same time. So that's the growth plan background on this. At this time, commissioners, I'm going to turn it back to Nicole to take on the options for the motions. Thank you.
So one of the reasons we're here today with you in front of, so this came to the Planning Commission, and, they were balancing between the need for housing. We know we need housing. We develop over 300 lots a year, and it's part of the economic development growth of the region. And we know it's a really important part. And what's unique to us is when we routed this plan, we started receiving review comments about the timing of this development. And so it's not necessarily that this is the wrong development being proposed in this location. It's more about the pace and timing. And as we are receiving review comments from some of our peer agencies, including the school district, Public Works, we started having more meetings about the funding and the financial plans in relation to, as we look out 5-10 years in the future. And so it's about this investment costs, the immediate connection to the 27 budget. And normally we would have these policy discussions as part of a brown bag, as part of an informational meeting, in lieu of coming to you in front of you with a denial recommendation. And so staff's not here necessarily recommend denial that this is like a bad idea. It's really about trying to create pause in how do we have these policy discussions while we have a live application. With the live application, through Century Code, through zoning ordinance, we have legal responsibilities to act within so many days. And so that's why it's so important to have the public hearing today. While there might need time for a continuation or a recommendation for denial or our approval with conditions, we can do that. And so it's trying to balance those recommendations. So I'll walk through those a little bit real quick. If the City Commission were to choose for recommendation to support the Planning Commission to take their recommendation, we would ask for conditions related to working with engineering for review of the infrastructure design, the amenities plan, the special assessment and funding allocation plan, the 2027 budget with the finance department, and most importantly, the MOU with the City of Horace, because we're along the western edge with Veterans Boulevard and sharing those costs with the City of Horace. Normally, we would have time to work through these levels, but the developer is on a timeline and a deadline, and so that's why we're in front of you today as part of that. But we know these are all steps that need to happen anyway, so we just want to make sure that's clear and that the City Commission is part of those processes as we move forward. If you were to, I think staff's recommendation is pretty straightforward. Really, it's a timing thing and trying to fit in how we have those policy discussions within a review process. And then 3, the continuation. If the City Commission were to choose and want to hear the discussion today, we could always continue the item for discussion in June 22nd or in July, depending on how you want to tease this up for your body, or knowing obviously we're on the heels of an election process. So with that, we have 3 different options. I don't like bringing different options to you. And so with that, we would be here for questions, or I would encourage, I'm sure the developer has elements or the public have elements that they want to discuss.
So it is a little complex, but I do think there's a couple things that have to be figured out. There's a budget question of adding staff to Public Works. Ben Dow's made clear that some of the things he can or cannot do. There's ideas of where are we leapfrogging, or is it a short leapfrog, or what do we have to do for infrastructure? There's a question on specials, which Commissioner Pipcorn has brought up and talked about before. Do we do it different for this development? It appears all the ducks aren't really in order quite yet for that, but it might be better to have a continuance so we can talk about it. But Mayor Pipcorn, you had a question?
So I just want to talk about the city's timeline as well. And so the diversion is going to be done this fall, which we're all going to celebrate that. But then it has to be certified. And so once it's certified, that will impact flood insurance, but also will impact the construction. They will no longer have to use as much fill and things like that. So, and then the other timeline we have is the land development code, which is also, I believe that has to be completed before we do this. So the developers have a timeline, but the city has a timeline as well. And the other thing that's happening, if you look at that proposed development, do you know what there's not out there? A tree. And so if you have multiple blizzards and you have blowing snow, you're going to have blocked roads. Like on 1984 19th Avenue North, we had deaths on 19th Avenue because of blowing snow. People were killed. And so that could happen. Because what happens is the blizzards come, but then even if it's a snowy day and the wind blows, the roads get blocked. And if the roads get blocked, then police and fire can't get there. So to me, our priorities take priority over the developer's priorities. And I mean, obviously we know it's going to develop and that's great, but we have to be prudent and cautious at this point. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions, Nicole? I have to do a public hearing. Any questions for a particular Sharon?
Thank you, Nicole, and I'm just curious from the balcony view, what are the pros and cons of us holding off just a few weeks to have a brown bag or an informal discussion or to listen more to each other? Are there immediate deadlines we just will miss or the developers will miss?
I'm sure the developer might have some opinion on that. I think, in all fairness, the developer might be seeing the continuation recommendation for the first time tonight, and so probably just like you are. And so in terms of staff deadlines, our main concern is just having the public hearing because we have a live application. Yeah.
Mr. Kolpak.
Yeah, if we could, Mr. Chair, I would like to hear from the developers next, and then I have some comments after watching the Planning Commission meeting a couple times, but there was a number of arguments that were brought forward. I thought it was a thoughtful discussion, but it's your call, Mr. Chair.
So we'll now open it for public hearing. Do we have anybody who would like to speak on this?
Yeah, thank you, Donald and Nicole. Mayor, Commissioners, John Eunice with Eagle Ridge Development. Taking a step back, we've been talking about this project for a number of months. This isn't something that we've just rushed and gotten in front of you without any real discourse with city staff and talking through some of the hurdles. And I do appreciate the time that city staff spent on this, and they've been very upfront about their position from the get-go. Some of the things that, the reason why we feel it's important for this to move forward now is that, frankly, there is a single-family lot shortage in the city of Fargo. At the time of Planning Commission, we went, had someone drive around and counted. There was 125 single-family vacant lots that were available for construction. Since then, there's been about 25 starts. So we're really sitting at about 100 single-family lots that are available. City of Fargo's average 360 single-family starts every single year. It's going to take time to build through the deficit that we currently have. It's not going to happen overnight. This project is going to take time. We're just at step one of this entire development. Getting the entitlements approved is the first piece that happens. Then we have to work with city staff on the design. Then we have to go through the bidding and construction process, and then eventually it gets to the point where there's single-family homes that Public Works is then out there having to service the roads and those types of things. We're talking 2 years away from these lots being able to be really delivered to where you can get single-family homes. That's 2 years where there really isn't any additional single-family lot inventory that's going to be brought on to the city of Fargo. I mean, you think of the financial impact that new construction has on the economy as a whole. That's 300 less starts that are happening in the city of Fargo, which means less sales tax. It means less residents. There's a cascading impact. It's everything down to the Amazon purchases that go to these single-family homes when they're built and people are living in there. The next thing I want to talk about is the investment that the city of Fargo's already made in this area. Just like a month ago, you guys approved the 64th Avenue interchange. Having pavement stop less than a mile from the on and off ramps and hitting a gravel road, to me, the reason the discussion came up between 64th and 76 was a lot of the connectivity issues. We know 64th has to get paved. It's paved to the west of us and it's paved to the east of us. There's a stretch that needs to be paved in the middle that our development fronts on. There's been almost $80 million of investment that the city of Fargo's made in this area between the new interchange that's going in, Lake Fargo, the extension of all the infrastructure down 45th and 64th Avenue. There's a new fire station that's under 2 miles away from this property. Then the other thing I want to talk about is the housing study. It was brought up earlier. That housing study says that there needs to be somewhere around 7,500 to 8,000 single-family homes built between now and 2032. Without lots, available lots, it's impossible to get to those numbers. And what impact is that going to have on housing affordability for our region? So with that, I'll open up any questions you guys have.
Usually it's just you get to speak to what you need to, unless there's a question the commissioner has. Commissioner Turnberg?
Can you let us know what the price ranges of these homes would be? Are they starter homes, mid-level, high-end, or what are we looking at?
Yeah, so these lots range in sizes. So we have some lots that are 50 feet wide, and they go all the way up to 70 foot wide. I'm expecting home prices to be in the $350,000 to $650,000 price point, depending on the lots. The smaller the lot, the less special assessments. Generally, you can get a more affordable home on them.
Commissioner Kolpak?
Yeah, it was after, as I've said, watching the Planning Commission meeting and I thought it was a very thorough, good debate between the commission members and the staff. And for additional information on kind of impact of this kind of process, I would recommend others taking a look at that if you haven't seen it. And I was prepared to come in and support the recommendation of the Planning Commission, which did go against, which is very rare, the staffing recommendations. The other thing you didn't mention is the $250 million of new value that this development brings to the city in taxable revenues. And in addition to the 140 other homes you're going to be adding in the next year in other development, to your point, we still need about 360 homes a year just to keep up with pace, which housing is a workforce issue as well, which we know very well we have a shortage here. I'm hesitating here now on the recommendation. By the way, this is a half-mile away from the existing sewer infrastructure. The other point that was made by staff, which I thought was really important to Ben Dow's point, was we're talking about the addition of 2 additional staff for snow removal, and that recommendation has been brought forward as part of budgeting process to staff and leadership over the last 5 or 6 years, that with a growing city, we need the staffing to support that growth and making sure we can provide the services. And so, you know, unfortunately, I'll say it this way. I have complete confidence that the entire cabinet leadership team with the directors of every department can in the next 2 years, find a solution to add 2 more staff to Public Works to manage this growth for general services. And when you add the investment already made to date, the need for housing, to me, the Planning Commission recommendation to approve this really made a lot of sense. So that's my comment, and I'm happy to make a motion here in a second. My question is, but is 3 continuing the application to provide more time to come back with some of these questions that remained open at that discussion before, in a date certain time by the end of June for consideration, an acceptable remedy for now that would work with the development and the work that's been done to date over these last several months? I don't know if that's an appropriate question for the development and the staff, but I just want to put all the cards on the table there.
Well, I'll jump in real quick, and you did bring up a good point on the new value, and that was just for this one phase, the $250 million. This is phase 1 of a 4-phase and 10-year project. In total, we're talking about over $1 billion of additional property value in this area. So it's not this isn't an inconsequential amount of construction that's going to happen here. It's going to be focused growth for a long period of time. In terms of the continuation, you know, we've had these same discussions with city staff. A lot of the issues, we think that the issues they bring up, while they may be valid, they're a little disconnected from what we're actually asking for right now. All we're looking for is a plat approval and zoning. There's no infrastructure request in front of you. Eventually we'll get to that, but that's a step down the road. You know, I feel like there's plenty of time between now and then for staff to keep working and come up with their needs for this new growth area.
Is your company prepared, if need be, to pay for the specials of the project itself, not the roads, but the internal, what's your housing?
We'd have to have continued discussions with city staff on
that.
I mean,
that would have to be a discussion.
Yeah, I would say that changing from the norm would be, I think there would be a lot of policy-related changes that the city would have to go through, and I don't think that those are something that would happen just from our discussion with city staff.
Well, just on the land development code, there's been some discussion of perhaps the developer, instead of we going 100%, is perhaps the developer takes 25 or 40%, and city takes 60%, just in a way to keep our bonding down. But that's, to me, that's a discussion point. That's something that would have to be discussed on the infrastructure costs, so.
Yeah, and I think we can have those discussions. Right now, it's hypotheticals because we don't have a project that can actually move forward, so.
Well, when I talked to Mark Thielen, he had said that you guys would be willing to do that, so I think there has to be a discussion. So, Commissioner Pipcorn?
So, Mr. Chair, the developer said it's 2 years away, and so we have time, and that's why I would support option number 3 to continue this, to get more of this clarified, all these things. And then on top of that, you might think that's not that big of a deal, but having it certified to be flood protected, that's a big deal. That's the other thing is, in 2 years, the land development code hopefully will be completed by then, and so all those things would make it much more clear what's expected. Then, on top of that, hopefully we'll have reforms of the specials, and so I do think that's another thing that will have a very big impact on everybody, the developers and the city. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Strand?
Thank you. Wow, that's an amazing investment. Those numbers are hard to comprehend sometime. I guess, as I'm seeing the discussion, it's boiling down to smart growth versus focused growth, and where's the middle? You know, and what could that look like? Nicole, maybe you might remember, and I think I have a sense of it, but this reminds me of the Davies expansion discussion when they moved the high school way down beyond any development. And people are going, that's never going to fill up. How long did that take, do you know, to fill up?
It reminds me of that exactly, as well as the Osgood area. And, so anytime you're, venturing into uncharted greenfield territory, what we've seen is, fills up within 10 years. So the demand is there, and it's really about the financial implications and the carrying costs and the services that go with that. Our number one concern, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation, I'll just have to call it out, but in the Planning Commission discussion it came out, is with the 3% infrastructure cap, and so when we don't know where that funding source is coming from to support general fund operations, which includes public works, that is part of our major questions. And so you're really, just for the City Commission to understand, I'm stepping out of my lane here, but it's really tying your hands as a commissioner to the the 2027 budget process. And there is time, as John mentioned, whether it's the 27 budget, 28 budget, or 29 budget, but just to know that's a question that now gets funneled in. And to John's point, everything about this application is unique and different than how we've been doing business for the last 30 years. And so staff this is new territory for all of us. And so to have these deep discussions on how our systems are going to have to change to accommodate the 3% is part of it.
Mr. Strand, are you done?
I am done.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Turnberg?
what are the ramifications of delaying this? Would you consider moving to a different city to develop there? Would you move to Horace or West Fargo or Moorhead, and then Fargo would lose out on all of this development?
Yeah, great question. It takes a lot of effort to get these developments moving on the front end, and delaying. Ultimately, a delay right now ends up delaying when that infrastructure gets designed and when it gets constructed. It's going to take time for city staff to work through these designs. I mean, there's sewer that has to be brought from 45th Street over. There's about a half a mile of extra road, but they're big projects that take some time to design. We do have projects in the area, and I hesitate to say that we're going to focus all of our efforts there. I mean, we're Fargo developers, and we've made it our business to continue to provide housing options for people in this community, and we're going to keep trying to do that.
Commissioner Pipcorn?
So, Mr. Chair, what we all know is once the diversion is done, we now have a finite boundary. And we all know that's eventually going to fill in. So we should be in no rush, and we certainly shouldn't, if they start threatening us, act because of threats. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Strand.
John, I'm just curious with this development. Tell me again, how many single-family housing units?
There's about 180 in this phase.
And in your modeling, are you anticipating a 2-year tax exemption for new homes?
We didn't model any of that into our, into the budgeting on the home side.
Would that be on the homeowner side?
That would be on the homeowner side. So we work to provide lots to the builders, and then the builders sell to the homeowners who then apply for that.
Because I know there's discussions, people want that gone, those incentives, those exemptions, but thank you.
Just because it's a public hearing, John, I have to ask if anybody else wants to speak.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I'm Don Dabbert, President of Dabbert Custom Homes and President of Lost Creek. In conjunction with Lost Creek, we're also developing Covey Ranch, which is a mile to the east. So a lot of these have some parallel discussions points that are very similar between all of them. Some of the things that I guess John had commented on, whether or not we can go somewhere or not, that's really kind of beside the point, because we're Fargo builders, Fargo developers, and we want to be here, and obviously it's more of a need for housing in the metro. I addressed the planning commission that I remember quite some years ago. Mr. Gilmore and I would always look at the number of lots. We'd have a map, and there was usually a healthy inventory was 2 to 3 years. We're probably 2 weeks to 2 months worth of inventory right now. And we're definitely seeing that, because there's a number of people that we are meeting with on a continual basis that say they have to go somewhere else, because there's just no lots available in Fargo. So they have to make the choice between a West Fargo or Horace or something else for that. And again, with the school districts and everything that they want to be there, so we definitely want to have it there. But I think what's important is that whether it's delayed today by 4 weeks or even 2 months, it's a much bigger question that we have to solve, and a problem that isn't going to be solved in the next 4 weeks or even 2 months. Because to some of the questions about specials and how will we maybe come up with a hybrid of some financing that we don't yet know, and what will that look like. But that's all stuff that has to happen. I can tell you we're also developing stuff in Horace, which is on the other side of 57th, which has been going on, this proposed MOU for about 5 years. So my confidence that anything's going to happen with the MOU anytime soon, I'm hopeful. Hey, there's always a chance. So my point is that I think we have to have a catalyst, and by at least accepting this to go forward to the next step, we're not ordering pipe, we're not putting anything in the ground yet. It's still a very, very long process before we can actually begin construction and then actually start building homes out there. But be able to have something in the pipeline to be able to show where we're at, to have somebody to be able to plan accordingly for that, I think is what's so important. A lot of good points brought up about the diversion and everything else. When that'll be certified, construction will be done, certification a number of years out yet, but we're just looking to be good stewards of not only just the resources of the city, but to be good partners in the community. And I think it does go a long way to help this get started. Deer Creek, Davies, Osgood, I can tell you all of them. I probably could go back and look at my testimony from all of those, and it's probably going to be very similar. And they've all been successful developments. So thank you. Open any questions or comments.
Thank you, Don. Anybody else wanting to speak? Close the public hearing. A couple things could be managed by the delay. I'm meeting with the Horace mayor next week. We have a sewer project we've talked about for 5 years now, and that will decrease the cost of the infrastructure if we have a deal with Horace to help pay for that project, which would help in the construction of the road. There is a discussion on specials that we're taking up, which I don't know to delay till the new commission is seated or to have discussion now, but whether the developers take part of the cost of the specials has been part of the discussion. The other issue that we got into is the budget, and I don't know if Mike can reveal in the budget if we're talking about 2 people in Ben's department and or a new grader. That's a considerable cost. But Nicole hit it on the bucket, is that 3% cap has really made it very difficult for us, in a sense, to grow. And the community's grown by 20% in 10 years. We've had the biggest growth Midwest area. We're in the growing cities. The difficulty is we've never stopped construction before. We've never slowed down in development. Last year, we had 200 new homes. We normally run 400 to 500 homes a year. Last year, 200 homes. This year, we'll be lucky if we even come close to that. West Fargo has 50 lots. We're down to 100. I mean, we used to have 500, lots available at any time. You could drive around Fargo and figure out where you wanted to live, north side, east side, wherever you wanted to live, you'd find something that you could at least look at. I don't think there's anything gained by rushing this. If we at least have some discussions June by June, at least have an open meeting in which the commissioners can become aware. But when I talk to Tom Knockmoose, is where is he going to put a CIP? Is where is he going to put the money that we do on a yearly basis? Where are we going to put our growth? Is it going to be on 64th at a concrete road or 64th at a paved road? What are the things we're going to put in there? And I think the commissioners have to weigh in. I don't think it's something that's lightly made. Not wanting to slow down growth and development, it is time for a pause and have a discussion. So I would favor the third option so the staff could have more discussions and the developer can be in the room and have an honest answer to what they think they can afford as well. So I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion for option number 3, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second? Yes.
Second.
Nicole, what did you want?
Is it possible to select a date, June 22nd or July 20th?
Commissioner Pepcorn?
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend July 20th, just because even if it just, everything takes time, I guess.
Well,
That's all
then
right
your
with
new
you, Nicole.
commissioners have to weigh in too. They've been talking about specials.
Well, and that's what I do think it's going to take time to let everybody participate as well. So I think I would recommend the July 20th, if that's acceptable to everybody else.
John, you'll be there.
I would prefer the 22nd of June, because we're still sitting here. Even though it may continue, but I just want to know where this group's thinking is prior to a passing of the baton leadership-wise. That's just my thoughts.
Mr. Chair, but Commissioner Strand, but we have to include everybody, the builders, the developers, the public, and that just takes time. But if we can get it done, I totally get what you're saying there too. Do you get what I'm saying?
You would go with the 22nd with the knowledge that it could continue and may well continue to the next commission. I'm all for it, for seconding that.
So
22nd of June?
Yes, with the option to continue it if necessary.
Ian, make that part of the motion, please.
Yeah, I think the motion it's option 3 with June 22nd, with staff having discretion to move it to July 20th, if need be. Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
With that,
Mr. Kolpak.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. With it being June 22nd, I'll support this, knowing there's a finite window here, but I respect that this, I was going to vote number 1, but I'll support it with that date.
Any other discussion?
Last thing I'll say, Mayor, this is amazing, this type of a scale of a development of housing. I mean, I just can't be in, it's bigger than a lot of cities in the state. 160 homes. So, and I just think it behooves us to do everything we can with our staff and their expertise and their guidance to do everything we can to help this city grow smartly.
Mike, I see you at the table. Do you want to say something?
I was just going to address the question, Mayor, that you had posed just about the 27 budget process, and that is that we are just getting that underway. But I just want to support our staff and note that that 3% property tax cap piece on revenue constriction is real. It is something that we're going to have to think about long term, and it is something that we just need to be really thoughtful about how we grow, how we develop, and I just want to support our planning department, support the public works department, and also the implementation, the proper implementation of our LDC to really make sure we're listening to that, we're being thoughtful and comprehensive. So that's all I wanted to share. But certainly with your motion tonight, I will look forward to the conversation with the commission. We'll definitely support that over the next month, and look forward to those follow-up visits on this topic. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you have something your lights on?
Mr. Chair, yep, if I may.
Commissioner Kolpak, yeah.
Just one more clarifying point, because just to clarify, the growth plan is not meant to be linear by grid. it's focusing on an entire grid and what's there and what investment makes sense with that kind of discretion. It's very important. Stilling had smart, intentional growth, but that intention was never completely linear and black and white. And so I thought that was an important discussion point as well, but I'll stop talking now.
Any other discussions? Good discussion, thank you. Roll call, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Kolpak?
Aye.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 31, receive due diligence report for the top 2 finalists of the Convention Center project, discussion on the next steps, selection and approval of top-ranking Convention Center project. Ian McLean to explain.
So this is a follow-up to the brown bag discussion we had last Thursday. So I'm going to start with a timeline of things that have happened the last month. But I think it's also important to note, obviously, we didn't start this on April 27th. It started in November of 2024 with a vote from the citizens of Fargo to approve a lodging tax of 3%, which will be paid, which will go towards building a convention center. Then there was a convention center committee, which I believe started meeting in February of 2025. So that process went about 15 or 16 months, which brought us to the April 27th meeting. And at that meeting, the City Commission directed staff to begin the due diligence process of the top 2 scored proposals, which is, I'll call them Bruhala and Downtown. Week of April 27th, list of financial, legal, and risk allocation topics were identified by the City Attorney's Office. We provided those to both of the proposal teams. The next Monday, May 4th, Jim Gilmore, Eric Johnson, and I met with both of the proposal teams in person, went over those topics. At that point, it was determined it would be best path forward to prepare written due diligence questions so we get all the answers in writing so nothing was lost in translation. Spent the week of May 4th preparing those questions, provided to the proposal teams on May 11th. May 18th, they were able to quickly turn around and provide us with detailed and thorough responses, which between the 2 of them totaled about 80 pages. We prepared a summary of the 80 pages, which brought it down to 6, which obviously didn't fully encompass all 80 pages. Brown Bag meeting on May 21st, last Thursday. And then on Friday, May 22nd, Susan and I had a call with the city's financial advisor, Baker Tilly, made them aware that this current city commission would be meeting tonight to determine whether they wanted to choose a proposal or do more due diligence, and also to highlight that this current city commission only has 2 more meetings, which is June 8th and June 22nd, that we thought the majority of the commission would probably want any due diligence report back prior to the June 22nd meeting. And they did indicate that they would be able to provide, depending if we wanted to even do more due diligence, that report prior to the June 22nd meeting. So when I think of due diligence, I put them, and these are my own words, I sort of put these into 2 buckets. One is transactional due diligence, which is really, can the parties fulfill the promises they are making? So this is due diligence we do on any project. I would use Block 9 as an example. So whether we're dealing with 1 proposal or 2, these are the questions we will ask, whether it's before we make a selection or after we make a selection. These questions will be asked. It's getting to, for instance, Bruhala is going to guarantee some of the operating losses. What do those written guarantees look like, and are they sufficient so the city would be satisfied? So those are things that we would use Baker Tilly or some financial advisor to look at. So transactional due diligence is going to happen regardless of whether the city commission makes a decision tonight or not. The second batch is what I would call selection due diligence. This would determine which proposal presents the lower long-term financial risk and greater likelihood of successful delivery. So this is, by its definition, this would be due diligence you would do prior to making a selection. So, for instance, the first question might be the primary one. Identify which proposal presents the lower long-term financial risk to the city and explain why. So that's something we could ask our financial advisor, Baker Tilly, to do. I would guess they're not going to give you a yes or no. What they're going to do is probably score it on a scale of 1 to 100. Maybe project A is 85, project B is 80. And they'll explain why, and they probably have different scoring mechanisms to get to that number. As I indicated previously, Baker Tilly has told us they can get us that prior to the June 22nd meeting, which means prior to June 18th, which is the agenda deadline. Before we get to the potential motions, I also want to talk about what actions actually happen after the City Commission actually makes its selections. I think there's maybe the misconception that we pick somebody, we enter into developer agreement, and construction starts the next day, and it's not quite that simple. So the first thing we do is we'd enter into a development agreement with the chosen proposal. There would be contingencies within that. Before we can actually start collecting the tax, we actually have to amend our ordinance, which would take 2 city commission meetings to talk about when are we actually going to start collecting, when's the 25 years end. So that'd be the next step. Depending on the proposal, Bruhala, we'd have to create a TIF district if the city commission so chose. With downtown, there already is a TIF district called the Riverfront. We'd have to talk about how we would utilize that. The hotel in the downtown proposal also would have a Renaissance zones incentive they're looking for. I don't have it up here, but also with the downtown proposal, they're also looking to purchase what we call the police headquarters downtown. So we'd have to determine what we were willing to sell that for. The bonds, we have to actually go sell the bonds to obtain the proceeds. There's a lot that goes into the bond sales. That would be multiple months before we're actually able to get an underwriter, price them, go to market, and come back with what we'd be willing to actually sell the bonds at. Importantly, Baker Tilly told us they would like to do the bond sale, I think, this year because the market will be stable, they think, until January. That's when a new Congress will take over. So they're unclear what it will look like in 2027. So in an ideal world, we would be at least going to market and getting our bonds sold still this year. A developer has to obtain financing and commitment from a hotel brand. So I think they're both looking at Marriott, so they got to get that in writing, and then they also have to get financing from their bank. We also need a guaranteed maximum price before the construction starts, which says this is how much they can build the convention center for. We'd have to approve that. We have to approve the drawings. Now, a lot of this takes place at the same time. So this isn't just one after another. Almost all of this would be taking place at the same time with the goal of getting it complete this year so construction could start in spring of 2027 would be the most likely, in my opinion. So as Nicole said, we don't like to give options, but tonight I got 3 potential motions. One is you're ready to make a selection. You would make the selection of either Bruhala or I call it downtown. Second part of that motion is also approving the city attorney's office to prepare the appropriate amendments so we can begin actually collecting the sales tax in the near future. Motion 2 goes with motion 1, so you'd only go to motion 2 if you approved motion 1, which is basically to begin the tax, the TIF discussions. This isn't approving a TIF district, it's not doing it, it's just saying, staff, please begin the process. Or the third motion, which is the alternative, is to move and direct city staff to continue the due diligence process and have Baker Tilly perform independent financial evaluation and then come back at the latest by the June 22nd city commission meeting with its findings. I think there are a couple public speakers too, Mayor, who would like to comment.
Yeah, and is there any chance they could come back by the 10th?
I think it's unlikely. It'd have to be by the 8th, which means it'd have to be by...
They've been looking at this for several months by just curiosity for all the things you put in there.
They have to get, I'm assuming they have to get some financial information from both proposal teams. Now, both proposal teams have been very diligent, and anytime we ask for anything, it is quickly given. But they were giving some pushback on June 22nd, so I think if I said June 8th, which is really like a June 4th deadline, they'd say no.
Okay. We have 3 speakers in person. Matt Brazel. Rocky Schneider.
Good evening. I'm Rocky Schneider. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Community Partnership. I'm also the Administrator of the city's Business Improvement District. I'm here today because I think this is really exciting. You know, you can feel the tension and anxiety in the room and in discussion in our community and the media, but excitement can feel a lot like those emotions too, and so we get to pick one of these, and they're both great local companies who have great national partners, and we know this convention center is going to be great for our community. I've been thinking a lot about this project and trying to figure out the pros and cons of each, which I think all 9 had pros and cons. I had the pleasure of serving for 11 years on the city's planning commission, including 3 years as the chair of the planning commission. And when you look at this, you know, we spend a lot of time, the convention center committee spent a lot of time looking at the sites. What they didn't look at is what other city bodies do, the planning development department, the planning commission. How does this individual site fit into the areas around it, the infrastructure around it, the public right-of-way around it, the riverfront? How does it fit with the city's planning documents? And I know there's other planning commissioners and past chairs in the audience as well, but the planning commission spent many years developing the Downtown in Focus plan. And I think I've heard all of you talk about how nobody wants plans to sit on the shelf. This is something that took years of public input and planning so that neighboring properties and neighboring businesses can understand what the future of these areas are. That's why I look at this and see the Civic Center proposal is what the city has planned for. It's planned for years for that property to redevelop into something like this. That's why I'm here supporting that. I think as the bid administrator, we're prepared for that challenge, as 95% of all convention centers are located in a business improvement district, because you have to manage beyond the site. So I believe the Convention Center Committee and the city is doing great work looking at these very site-specific ones and understanding the nuances, apples to apples. That's your task. But I'd encourage you all to look at your other committees too, like the Planning Commission, and see what they've done as their study, that the In-Focus plan that you've also passed. And how does that incorporate into the overall selection process as well? I believe these plans are there for a reason, and they're well thought out, and they had a lot of public input. And I believe it points to the obvious solution of the Civic Center as the selection for this. And I know as a community, I think we're all really hoping you make a decision swiftly. I know it feels like it doesn't hurt to wait a couple weeks, but we've all seen decisions wait a couple weeks that lead to more couple weeks. And with a pretty major election coming up, I think it's fair that they get to weigh in on the future of this and a lot of these decisions. But before you right now is the work that you've put time into. And so for the sake of everybody in the room that's, on pins and needles on this decision, including our community and people signing leases and decisions and everything else, we urge you to take this information and act as swiftly as possible. Thank you for your time. Appreciate all the work that's gone into this.
Charlie Johnson.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. I sort of feel like I'm a voice crying in the wilderness here, since I was the chair of the committee. My name is Charlie Johnson. I was the chair of the committee, and I'm here to echo part of what Rocky said, but maybe take issue with a little bit of what he said. I mean, we weren't the Planning Commission, but we certainly did look at all of those things that you talked about, and I think those were all part of all the commissioners know that all of the things that we looked at included everything around it, how it fits into the space around it. But I'm not here to advocate for either one of these proposals. Personally, I am here to remind you that we spent nearly 16 months working on this project, and continued delays concern me. So in that area, I kind of agree with Rocky. You're going to do what you're going to do, and I see Ian has good options up there for you. I know you still have some time as the City Commission of record, but I kind of really wish you'd finished the job we all started in good faith after the November 24 election. The people of Fargo voted for this, and you approved the process, and you all participated in the process, and I think the process was pretty thorough in all that we did. And as Rocky or as Ian pointed out, all of the developers involved in this, beginning with the 9 down to the 4 and now to the last 2, have jumped through every hoop I think we've asked them to jump through, and I know they will continue to do that until you make up your mind. But I think the process deserves an ending, and I really think that this City Commission is the group that should do it. I really worry about the possibility of kicking this to a new City Commission that could have 60% turnover. For those of you, I mean, we love you all. You've done a great job, and we thank you for your service. You've done a really good job, and all I'm asking is that you don't let this slide to the next commission where you'll have 3 people who haven't done the work. Maybe they've paid attention, maybe they haven't, but you're the ones who have paid attention to this, and I really hope you can get this done and make a selection so we can move this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Ian, ready for discussion with commissioners?
Yeah.
Any questions of Ian?
Can I just bring one thing that concerned me on the responses to due diligence? Number 12 was the former police headquarters property, and if you could pull it up, I'd appreciate it. But basically, Bruhala was not included in that. But with the proposal, what they want to offer is $500,000 for that property. That's the engagement center now, and right now the assessed value is $2.3 million. And so, and if we RFP'd it, I would, and the reason it caught my eye is because I'm a property owner of a nearby property, and I was like, they want to buy it for $500,000. That's not good. And so I just want to request that if that does happen, that goes to an RFP. And what will happen then is it will go from 500,000, the RFP will probably be 3 million, so we'll make 2.5 million more. And so I think that would be a wise move. That's kind of our responsibility, is to maximize assets. And I do think the RFP process on a lot of these properties that we're talking about needs to be included. So it's a specific example. I wish you could pull it up on the screens so you can see it, but.
I'm sorry, I can't. I don't have it for me. But
No. And I'm just saying, but I hope people can see it. But that's what they have proposed, $500,000 for an assessed value of 2.3 million. And so I just wanted people to be aware of that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kolpak?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the comments tonight and for all the community input. Number one, I absolutely agree that this is this commission's decision to make before the election. 100%. We've been doing this work for 18 months. We are the ones who've been involved. I think we own this decision, and so my recommendation absolutely starts with that. I would support the third Baker Tilly. Here's why. I've said from the beginning, an apples to apples, side by side financial impact for this very, very big decision has to be thoughtful and thorough. And right now, I sincerely do support both for different reasons. I still haven't seen the side-by-side financial, and part of that is because we didn't begin with the same inputs for both to get to the same outputs for both in how we look at that. And so with a date certain of June 22nd, I would make the motion and move the city staff to continue the due diligence with both finalists, with Baker Tilly, an outside firm for that analysis.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Discussion.
So, Mr. Chair, just one more thing. That list that you have of all the things that are going to be reviewed, that's excellent. So thank you very much. I think that's going to answer a lot of our questions that all of us have. So thank you very much for doing that. And in fast fashion, so I'm very impressed. But I think that will answer a lot of questions for both projects. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for the speakers. It's probably one of the more important decisions this commission is going to make. If we do it the 22nd, it'll be one of the last decisions we make. But the critical part of this project is no different than the Fargo Dome, no different than the Civic Center. Will it pay for itself, or will we cover the losses, or how we handle the losses? And as we sit, the Fargo Dome's done well with its escrow account and ability to use that escrow account, and has done well most of the time. But we do know a convention center will need some support and some help. Each proposal has great thoughts, great ideas of why theirs is better or worse. But what the commission really has to do is make a decision what makes best financial city for the city, the sense for the city. And I think the Baker Tilly is a final chapter we need. We've asked for that. I think as we sat in the committee, we asked for that. So Commissioner Strand, that was one puzzle we didn't quite have, is side by side, which one is one that puts us at least risk as a city. And with the 3% cap, it really makes every decision we make more critical. So I would support this motion, and I think we need to just push Baker Tilly to make sure, Ian, we have all the questions that the commissioners would have, so we don't say, let's look at something else. So just would offer that, and any commissioner has any questions they want. To the question that Pipcorn asked, is the price going to be $500,000, or is that the developer and the hotel developer has to decide? You know, how do we do that? So city is also going to always look, if we sell property, best value that we get for it. So I think that's a question that should be asked as well. So any other discussion? Mr. Strand.
I offer an amendment. My amendment would be, I move to direct the city staff to continue the due diligence process and to have Baker Tilly perform an independent financial evaluation of the downtown location, and then continuing and reporting back June 22nd. So I would narrow it down to the downtown location in my amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call vote on the amendment.
Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Kolpak? No. Pepcorn?
No.
Mahoney?
No. Vote on the primary motion. Roll call vote.
Kolpak? Aye. Pepcorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 32, recommendation to allow city staff and city attorney office to engage in conversation with North Dakota State University, Fargo Moorhead Baseball, and other related parties, future operations, the Newman Optar Field. When Rick Berg was president, Mike and I had some conversations about this, and I think it's something we wanted to bring forward to the commission. Would like your input. Commissioner Pepcorn had worked a long time with the Red Hawks as well, trying to figure something out. And so we just wanted to move this forward. The staff at NDSU has some concerns about the site, and we thought we could move it forward.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I'll just be very brief in my comments, and I'll just note that Newman Outdoor Field is a really unique property. It's a very unique facility in that it's owned by the city of Fargo. It's located on state property that's owned by the state of North Dakota and is on the NDSU campus, but it's really operated by a private baseball club as well as utilized by NDSU for their baseball operation. So we really have today quite a fragmented relationship between the parties, and what we're really looking to talk about in the future is all the deferred maintenance and activities that really need to be done at the facility. It is now 30 years old. It's hard to believe, but it's already been 30 years. And so as we look to the future, and just to also want to lift up and just note the real efforts that our facilities management team, the NDSU team, as well as Commissioner Pepcorn have all had great conversations in the past, but it's really important that we renew those conversations, I think, in 2026 and really be focused on the future, which is about a new operating model, talk about a capital improvement plan, talk about ADA improvements, and the other maintenance activities that have really been deferred for too long at the facility, so that we're making sure that we're putting this facility in the best position possible for success in the future, and making sure that it's going to meet the needs of the public that utilize the facility, as well as the city of Fargo and North Dakota State. So the suggested motion there in the packet is to really authorize staff, that includes the city attorney's office as well as city staff, to explore all necessary facility-related conversations with NDSU, and that likely that will include Fargo Moorhead Baseball Incorporated as well. Also, we'll make sure to include Commissioner Pepcorn as the liaison commissioner to the Facilities Management Department. And this would be a conversation likely over the summer, not only with the existing leadership team at NDSU, but as well as the new president eventually. Today was his very first day. And so we'll come back, provide those periodic updates to the City Commission, but just look forward to a conversation with North Dakota State as well as the FM Red Hawks as we move this forward. So I'll just leave it at that. Happy to answer any questions, and thank you for the time to receive this.
Any questions of Mike? We have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Roll call vote.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Kolpak? Aye. Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 33, recommendation to allow city staff and city attorney's office to engage in conversations with Fargo Moorhead Science Museum on the potential use of Mid-America Steel site at 92nd and 106th NP Avenue North. Commissioner Strand to explain.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and I'm guessing most of the people know that one of the many ideas being broached in the community is to create a science museum. And this has been going on, as I understand it, for several years. Many years ago, I approached some of those folks and their leadership and board members, and I think at least 2 or 3 times walked them through the Civic Center saying, hey, is there any way you can put this here? You know, and it doesn't quite fit their vision and needs, but it's an ongoing process, and long story short, after ongoing communications, I'm sure with many parties on both sides of the river, with many entities, with many locations, and this doesn't mean that anything's final, but we've been asked formally by the Science Museum leadership to see if we're open to having a discussion about what could it look like, what might be the opportunities, what might be the possibilities. Their hopes are that we will focus in on the Mid-America Steel site, which would be an iconic location, but this is just simply a door opener to begin that exploration as the entities go forward and see if there's any viability or feasibility or affordability or whatever the terms could conceivably be if they were to continue down this path with us and us with them to make that an element of our downtown.
Commissioner Pepcorn.
So, Mr. Chair, first of all, I totally support having the Science Center downtown, but I will strongly object to the Mid-America Steel site. And first of all, we have to RFP that as well, John, because to me, what we were just talking about with those developments is the diversion has to be completed first, then it has to be certified. And then if you don't mind, I'm going to ask Ryan Ash, I'm going to put you on the spot. Will you come up and talk? what I'd like to do with the Mid-America Steel site is, the EDC now has it where you can certify a site. And so some of them are big commercial sites, but what I would love to have them do is have it be a certified site of the EDC and find out what it can be. We don't know what can go, I believe something totally unbelievable can go there. The Science Center, I think that can fit lots of places. So would you talk a little bit about that, Ryan, the certified sites? And would that be a potential, and would we have to pay you to do that?
Well, I could talk a little bit about the certified sites. Ryan Osheim with the Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC, by the way. So we have, for a number of years, invested in building out a certified site program called Document Ready Sites. And so really where it starts is willing landowner that wants to enroll a site into this program and really collect data on the site. So where all the utilities are, geotechnical studies, environmental phase 1, phase 2, wetland delineation, obviously floodplain and flood zones are really important to it. And for the purpose of attracting investment from either national and international projects, usually industrial in nature, but could be commercial or could be some other projects. And so this is really kind of a speed to market tool and an ability to reach a market that we might not otherwise in terms of site selectors or developers that are looking at investing in a marketplace. So, I mean, we really usually start with a couple of things. One, do we have a willing landowner? And two, are they willing to put a price on a site? There's some things that make sites more or less attractive, access to infrastructure, to interstates, to rail, other things. And so I don't want to say we're not choosy, because I think we are choosy, but really that would be where the conversation would start, is willing landowner and a price.
But Ryan, you haven't necessarily had anybody that's shopping at that site. We've had this sitting now for 4 or 5 years. We have some environmental issues. EPA is going to kind of help us out with that as well. So it will take some steps before it'd be ready for commercial use.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of upfront costs just to even understand the viability of a project. Now, if someone came along and did all of that pre-work, it makes that site, I would say, more marketable, and you could go out to, and I always think about it, if we're competing with 10 other places, and all things being equal, there's a blank spot on one of our sites because we don't understand all of maybe the potential, ground impacts, the environmental impacts, then we're going to be taken off that list because there is a question mark or maybe a uncertainty about that location.
We have one speaker, Rocky Schneider. Wearing a couple hats tonight, huh, Rocky?
You know, we could have picked a better day to all be here when it's not 90 outside, right? But this is another exciting project, and I want to make a couple points on this. I had the joy of being involved with the diversion project, working on flood protecting this and also acquiring this site. I also had the joy of working with Chris, previous speaker, on the Housing Authority project at the Lashkowitz High Rise, getting an EPA brownfield grant. I appreciate Commissioner Pepcorn's comments because I think they're all right on, except for the fact that this site's different because it's not a desirable site right now. It won't be until you go through the effort to find federal funding to clean it up. It's not a feasible site. As the mayor said, it's been years and no one's expressed interest in it. And in order to get a brownfield grant, as I know I've been through this process with the city previously, you need to have an end result in mind. It helps get through that process. It makes you more competitive. And so I just encourage the city to go quickly down that brownfield grant route, especially while Senator Hoeven is motivated by it. You saw him ask a question at EPA hearing last week or 2 weeks ago on it. But that's with an end goal in mind. And so the city needs to figure out an end goal more than it needs to RFP. And so if it's not a science museum, it does need to have an end goal. And I think right now it hasn't necessarily been a huge priority for the city to find that end goal. And this is one that happened to come to the city. And so I think the motion isn't to give away land or anything like that. It's to start working down toward that process so that there's an end goal in mind, is what you need to get EPA funding. And without EPA funding, the city does not have the funding to clean up this site, to get it back to a marketable property. And so I think that's just the consideration. If you were going to seek federal funding, you need to have that end goal in mind. I did get up here to say that it is very much congruent with the Downtown in Focus plan, which you may have heard about. But spent years developing that so that we could look at these properties and have end goals in mind. And I believe the city's also done some public and input in on this as well, and I think people want a public use of some sort or a community use versus an industrial site, as Ryan mentioned, is one possibility there. I think when that was bought out, the whole purpose was to try to figure out how it could be a community-based property. It is. I have the picture up in my office of like 1870 Fargo, and this is where our community started, is right on that property. It's cool to think of all the ideas that could come in to, then Science Museum fits that narrative, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public discussion? Do I have a motion?
I will advance the motion, and then I'll call on the science folks if they could tell us about their project.
Okay. Is there a second?
The motion is, I move to authorize city staff and the city attorney's office to initiate and engage in discussions with the FM Science Museum on the potential siting of the Science Museum on the Mid-America Steel site at 92 and 106 NP Avenue North.
I second that motion.
Commissioner, is it okay if we have?
Absolutely.
Everybody's okay with that?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
Commissioners, appreciate your time. I'm Reed Mattson, Board Chair. What I want to encourage you to do is just think about this as a discussion. This is a starting point. We're not here to ask for anything right now. And one more thing I will just challenge you on is to, when we think about the value of this site, I want to just I want you to just expand a little bit about what is value. Value can be the dollar amount that we can get on a sale of it, but it can be so many more things. It could be about a potential asset to the community that draws people into downtown, that drives them here for tourism, that impacts the quality of life for the residents here as well. So something just to keep in mind as we think about what this could potentially be and where we could potentially go. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jesse, maybe just to speak a little bit about the museum.
Thank you. I just would like a few minutes just to sort of introduce you to the scale of the project. We're calling it a science museum, not a science center, and we're anticipating 250,000 people for the first 2 years and stabilizing in year 3 at probably 200,000. It's about 60,000 square foot, 23,000 square feet of exhibit space. But I think what I really want to say is that it's a community project. We have so many voices and so many lenses in this. We met with scientists and we asked them about what content should be in here. We asked the STEM companies what technical skills gaps and workforce needs were. We asked teachers what standards they're struggling to fulfill, and we asked children and teens and adults and everyone what they're proud of in the region and what we should build. And we've had museum planning professionals help us find the right size. We're the largest city center in the region. I feel like I know we're kind of tight on time, but I would love an opportunity to show you the scale of the project and what we're building, because we really are imagining a destination science museum on par with any major city. And we deserve this, and we have tremendous support, and we have so much to be proud of. So much innovation, so many things that put us on the global map. And we need a place to illuminate that. We need a place for families to go indoors in the winter. We need the 70% of North Dakota tourists to want to stay overnight, and they're asking for attractions like this. So I'll stop there, but I would love an opportunity to show you what we're building.
We'll make appointments with the commissioners so they can see your presentation. It's a nice presentation. Any other discussion? Mr. Kopech?
Mr. Chair, so I certainly support this entire idea of a science museum in our metro. This is a confusing motion for me because I don't want to limit those conversations to what other possibilities are out there. If this is just a beginning conversation with the city and it becomes what it becomes with no expectation or limitation, fine, right? I mean, I totally support that. It just seems.
Mr. Strand.
We have an empty slate ahead of us. And Commissioner Pepcorn, your conversation, that's exactly the type of things we need to vet. Are there other requirements or guidelines or guardrails that would, and they need to be present in this whole conversation going forward, if there's any partnership that would unfold? Are there RFPs required? Is there values and purchase? I don't know. I just think that it's up to us to decide if we would like to open the door and see where it could conceivably go. And I'll say one last thing, and I'm not a dinosaur expert guy, okay? And maybe Jesse can help me understand, but if I remember correctly, the biggest dinosaur maybe found in North America or something like that is Bob from Western North Dakota. And then I believe this artifact was sold to some billionaire in Dubai, and then it has come back out into the public. Wouldn't it be, in my mind, wouldn't it be great if Bob was in his home state? At some point in time, that this dinosaur am I correct on that, Jesse? Tell me about Bob just in a quick second.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, you're correct in parts. One of the most complete Triceratops found, and it went up for auction to the residents in North Dakota first for $1.2 million, and there was nowhere to put it. The Heritage Center already had Triceratops, so it went to market. It sold, I can't remember, in the teens of millions, and it was going to be a waiting room spectacle in a dentist's office, I think. And then something went wrong. It's in a good place, and it's traveling in children's museums right now. So at the moment, it landed in a good place, but yeah, it'd be good to get home.
Roll call vote, please.
Strand?
Yes.
Turnberg?
Aye.
Kolpak? Aye. Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Liaison reports, Commissioner Strand.
Thank you, Mayor. I should have written the details down, but in a nutshell, the Recovery Resource Center's grand ribbon cutting is the 28th at 2 p.m. And this has been a long time coming, the transition of this public health service from downtown in the former police station over to the location over on across from Buhala in that vicinity near the police station. So I believe, Jen, am I right, is it 2 o'clock on Thursday? And it's a public event, and it give you a chance to tour the facility, see what it looks like, and see it at the first day it's open.
Mr. Kolpak.
Yeah, I have 4 slides today, 2 of them related to solid waste. So let's start there. We just finished up with Spring Cleanup Week. And thank you to everyone who participated and worked and contributed to the crews for another successful cleanup week. We hauled 1,200 loads of unwanted items from our neighborhoods and 1.572 tons of debris. I also want to share my appreciation to all residents for helping keep our community clean, and anyone who missed cleanup week can still dispose of large items year-round at the residential transfer station located at the landfill. And then as part of that, I did a ride-along, next slide please, had the opportunity to ride along and actually participate in Spring Cleanup Week. That's me on the right, and then there I am with Truck Norris. We saw that great video at the beginning of the meeting, so I know the staff is really excited, and that definitely is their favorite name. The third slide. The fire department had an opportunity to participate in a pinning and a graduation. So the painting was last Friday for 6 newly promoted captains. It was the first kind of a painting ceremony experience that we tried, and I thought it went very well. And then following that was the graduation for 9 recruits who completed the Metro Fire Academy, which is a reminder, a collaboration of Fargo, West Fargo, and Moorhead. And even though this year there weren't West Fargo graduates in this class, they were still here and helping us celebrate and elevate all of the work of the Academy. 5 of the recruits, as I said, joined the Fargo Fire Department, and 4 are with Moorhead, and we wish everyone the best, including the new promotees. In the last slide this morning, we had a very touching ceremony, an Academy graduation for 7 recruits who completed the Fargo Police Academy, but also, very poignantly, as those new officers were sworn in, our new chief of police, Travis Stefanowicz, was also sworn in along with the class. And there was a really touching video. If you have time, go take a look at Chief Stefanowicz's career and beginnings and some of the comments he made and his own experience getting through the academy and the training. His family was here. He had a lot of supporters here, and it was just a really touching ceremony. So congratulations, Chief, and congratulations to all of our new officers. Those are my updates.
Well, I didn't have any slides. I was just going to have the chief stand up and give him a round of applause because he was sworn in today. What was fun about your video is we saw you when you started as a police officer, and it was fun to see you at that time of your life with a little more hair and a little bit different, your face, features. But it was, we had a lot of recruits from all over the country. People are coming from all over with all sorts of backgrounds. And it was really fun when we swore in the young officers is just what type of candidates we are attracting in this community. And Chief, you changed it up a little bit today when you gave your statement as you took in the new role you have. And humility came out of that, and humility and wanting to serve our community. And I think you gave a different message to the core group of officers of what's your expectation, and it's what can we do better for the community. And I think that'll resonate around the community, and I appreciate that. Mr. Turnberg?
No update.
Mr. Pepcorn? We have three speakers. Dylan Hanson is first. Over there, yeah. And the rules, Dylan, are up on the guidelines up there that you can see.
All right, do you need me to state my name?
State your name, yep.
Dylan Hanson, put in a request to speak about the animals disturbing the peace ordinance. The way the ordinance is written does not allow the police to accept like video footage proving that this is occurring. And that's a non-emergency call to get the police out there to look at this. This was just last Thursday, and at the advice of the officer, he told me to bring this to your guys' attention. It was 44 minutes from the time I called to the time they arrived on scene, which it's a non-emergency, obviously, it's gonna take longer. The dog has then since quit being a nuisance, so there's essentially nothing they can do with the way the ordinance is written. I guess I'm asking for you guys to relook at that ordinance and see if you can provide a different route about it. And that's all I got for that.
So Ian can look into that. If you have your contact information, we can get back on that, Dylan.
Yep.
Okay. Scott Brecky?
Yes, Scott Brecky, resident of Fargo. I just have a couple comments about special assessments. Recently, I was going through my own property and I was looking at my specials. I have 8 specials and I'm paying about $1,000 in interest annually. I went ahead and called in and paid off 2 of those to reduce my specials. But then a couple days later, I was listening to the meeting with about the convention center, excuse me. And I heard the same proposal about the $500,000 for 2224 Street, the old police station, valued at $500,000. So I quickly went online and looked to see what it was valued at, which was at $2.3 million. But the one thing I noticed, it had $25,000 in specials. So I thought that was odd that the owner of the building is the city of Fargo, but it's also has specials at an interest rate. So then I typed in the address of the Civic Center. And the Civic Center has $467,000 in specials and pays over $20,000 a year in interest. Then I typed in this address, which has 2 parcels that totals about $1.5 million in specials and $80,000 in interest. So I guess I know this is not a Q&A, but my question, I did not know that the city of Fargo also either pays half of their own infrastructure and then takes a loan out for their other half at an interest rate. I don't know if there's a way to get the total amount of city-owned property on how much the city owns in specials, how much they're paying in interest, and what the process, are we using bonds to offset that interest cost, or how that kind of works. So I guess I would be curious. I don't know also on the budget line for the Civic Center, not to just pull at the Civic Center, but the Civic Center has a budget of $229,000, but $63,000 a year is getting paid on specials. Is that $229,000, is $63,000 of that budget going on there, or where is that $63,000 coming from? So I guess as far as, we use the word a lot about transparency, I'm just going through and looking at how I can see to kind of do the math and see where it all works up. So, sorry for being nervous. I'm 97 degrees outside and I'm fat.
Thank you. We could look into that. That's a question I could probably answer after the meeting. Jamie Carlson? Jamie's not here. Susan, could you answer the question on the specials, or Tom on the Civic Center? Does somebody have it?
We'll follow up. We'll follow up.
Oh, they'll follow. Okay, thank you. Meeting's adjourned.